Taylor Swift is on the verge of potentially adding yet another monumental achievement to her already impressive list of accolades. At 35, she has received her first ever nomination for the Songwriters Hall of Fame's class of 2026, making her debut on the ballot this year. If Taylor secures a spot, she would break records as the youngest inductee in the Hall's history by a margin of over 10 years. When the Hall of Fame revealed this year's nominees on October 23rd, Swift found herself among a diverse and celebrated group of artists spanning multiple genres, including LL Cool J, Sarah McLachlan, David Byrne, Pink, Kenny Loggins, Gene Simmons, and Paul Stanley from Kiss. Other contenders this cycle include members of the Go-Go's, the Guess Who, and America. Each year, the Hall of Fame selects 3 songwriters from each category, performing and non-performing, to be honored at an exclusive ceremony in New York City the following June. The process to be considered for induction is stringent and highlights just how significant this recognition is. A songwriter's first commercially released track must be at least 2 decades old to achieve eligibility. For Swift, her debut single Tim McGraw made its way onto the airwaves in June 2006, just allowing her to meet the requirements for this year's class. Linda Moran, who serves as the president and CEO of the Songwriters Hall of Fame, remarked on the significance of Taylor's nomination, emphasizing that Swift is the youngest artist ever to appear on their ballot, qualifying at only 15 years old, which was soon after she inked her first publishing deal and enjoyed her initial commercial release. Moran was candid in expressing how rare it is to see someone so young reach such a milestone, suggesting it may be quite some time before the Hall sees another nominee of Swift's age. The path to nomination in the Hall is an intensely detailed and personal process, especially for those who oversee it. Moran explained that once songwriters hit the 20-year threshold, their names are added to a pool divided into performers and non-performers. Each year, the committee convenes to review a vast number of candidates, eventually narrowing the field to about a dozen in each category. Being selected for the ballot alone is a notable accomplishment. Subscribe for more exclusive updates on music legends and rising icons. After nomination, each songwriter must personally agree to participate. Select 5 songs that best represent their work and provide a current photo. Ballots are then distributed to around 1,850 voting members, all of whom are industry professionals. The voting process is digital, and the winners are announced on CBS mornings each January, though the 6 chosen honorees are discreetly informed beforehand to confirm their attendance at the prestigious June event. Moran noted that induction requires the artist's presence. If a nominee can't attend, their induction is postponed to a future year. Taylor Swift's inclusion this year highlights a generational transition within the Hall. Discussing this, Moran shared that the committee has debated what to do when younger writers qualify, whether to make them wait until they reach a so-called respectable age or recognize them as soon as they are eligible. She made it clear that delaying recognition for prolific young songwriters is not an option. When they qualify, they must be acknowledged. The Songwriters Hall of Fame, established in 1969, is dedicated to honoring the creative forces behind the world's most memorable music. Moran, who's helmed the organization for nearly a quarter century after breaking barriers at Warner Music Group, describes the Hall's annual ceremony as the most eagerly anticipated in the industry. Many inductees, she said, view the night as a kind of reunion, an emotional homecoming. Songwriting, after all, comes from a deeply personal place, filled with sincerity and feeling. The Hall exists to celebrate those who create from the heart. For many, induction into this Hall represents the highest accolade of their career. Swift already has a special connection to the Hall of Fame, having received the Hal David Starlight Award in 2010, which honors young songwriters demonstrating extraordinary early talent. In 2025, Gracie Abrams took home the same award. If inducted, Taylor Swift would make history as the first artist to hold both the Starlight and Hall of Fame distinctions. Moran recalled how Taylor's acceptance speech for the Starlight Award left a lasting impression, with many people expressing awe at Swift's poise and clarity at such a young age. Since then, Swift's songwriting portfolio has only expanded, and her 5 chosen songs for this year's ballot, all too well 10-minute version, Blank Space, Anti-Hero, Love Story, and The Last Great American Dynasty, demonstrate the breadth and depth of her abilities. With voting for the 2026 class closing on December 4th, the anticipation grows as the industry awaits the announcement of inductees in January, followed by the June Gala. Whether or not Swift is honored this year, her nomination alone cements her place among the elite songwriters of her generation, highlighting a career defined by lyrical storytelling. Given the Hall's rule that inducted artists must attend the ceremony, Moran explained that sometimes even the most deserving candidates must postpone their moment if their schedules do not allow them to be present in June, underscoring the personal nature of the event. The Hall's nomination process is rigorous. Once a songwriter's work has stood the test of time for 2 decades, their name is added to a shortlist, which is then scrutinized by a committee of established industry professionals. From hundreds of names, only a select few move forward, making it to the final ballot. Every nominee must give their personal consent before moving forward, and this involves more than just a signature. It's an active participation, choosing representative songs and submitting a current photograph, which helps the voting body connect with the artist's journey and evolution. The voting body itself is formidable, comprising nearly 2,000 professionals from all corners of the music world. This diverse assembly brings together perspectives from every genre and background, lending credibility and weight to the selection process. Balloting is conducted completely electronically, ensuring a streamlined and secure process. Once the votes are counted, the news is broken on a national stage, with the 6 successful nominees notified confidentially before the public announcement, allowing the Hall to coordinate their attendance and prepare for the high-profile June event. Moran emphasized the importance of personal attendance at the ceremony, a policy rooted in the Hall's ethos of celebrating not just achievement, but community and legacy. If a nominee is unable to attend, their induction is deferred, preserving the tradition of honoring inductees in person. Taylor Swift's nomination signifies a pivotal moment for the Hall, reflecting a generational shift in the songwriting landscape. Committee discussions have wrestled with the question of how to approach young writers who have achieved significant success early in their careers. Moran relayed that there was a consensus. It would be unfair to make these artists wait simply because of their age. Their accomplishments and impact warrant immediate recognition. The Hall of Fame was founded to spotlight the creators behind the music, celebrating not just fame, but the artistry and emotion poured into every song. Moran, with her extensive background as the first female executive at Warner Music Group, has led the Hall for nearly 25 years, guiding it through changes in both the industry and the broader culture. She describes the annual induction ceremony as a highlight for everyone involved, a night when the industry comes together to honor those whose words and melodies have left a lasting mark. For many inductees, the evening feels like a homecoming, a rare chance to be celebrated among peers and collaborators. Subscribe to stay connected with more stories behind your favorite artists. The prestige of the Songwriters Hall of Fame is unmatched, according to Moran, who often hears from inductees that the honor stands apart from all others. Songwriting, she says, is an act of vulnerability, an expression of truth and emotion, and the Hall's mission is to recognize those who have shaped the musical landscape through their words. Swift's history with the Hall is already notable. In 2010, she was honored with the Hal David Starlight Award, a recognition reserved for young writers who show extraordinary promise. Her acceptance speech that night was described by those in attendance as remarkably eloquent, leaving a strong impression on all who heard it. Since that time, Swift's career has only grown, with each album adding to her legacy as a songwriter. For her Hall of Fame nomination, she selected 5 songs that encapsulate her evolution and skill as a writer. The epic All Too Well 10-minute version, the clever Blank Space, the introspective Anti-Hero, the timeless love story, and the narrative-driven The Last Great American Dynasty. The selection showcases the range of her songwriting, from confessional ballads to biting pop anthems, and highlights her influence across genres. With the voting deadline approaching on December 4th, industry watchers are eagerly awaiting the January announcement on CBS Mornings, which will reveal the new inductees, followed by their formal recognition at the June Gala in New York City. Regardless of the outcome, Swift's nomination alone is a testament to her enduring impact as a songwriter, her ability to connect with listeners through her words, and her place among the greats of her generation.